everybody. Welcome back to TC911 Beyond the Call, Episode 3. I am your host, Abbey Dudek, Communications Coordinator at Tarrant County 911 District. And today I am interviewing the two greatest ladies in our training department, Sofia and Alena. They are our training coordinators. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me on the TC911 Beyond the Call podcast. How are y'all doing today?
Hi, Abigail. We're doing good. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited.
Good, awesome. So the training department. So tell me about that. What's when we're talking about the training department, is it just you're training dispatchers, you're training all sorts of people from public safety? Can you maybe give us a brief synopsis of like a nutshell of what that means, and then we'll go into it more.
Yeah, so overall our primary students are going to be 911 dispatchers. Sometimes we do have officers, and it just depends on the course that we offer, but yeah, the majority is going to be dispatchers.
Okay. Now you said officers too. What if police officers wanted to come to our facilities, what would they be coming here for?
So we have certain classes that they can take, like our basic instructor class, where they take it and then they can go back to their agency and teach classes that the state provides, or even develop courses for their own agencies, whatever their agencies need.
Okay. And with 911 dispatchers, I know they have a slew of courses that y'all offer. What is the major one that we offer here at Tarrant County 911 District?
Yes, I will say the major one is going to be our licensing course to get them licensed through the state.
Okay. Now, when you say licensing course, for our folks at home who are listening to us and are learning about us as a district, what does that mean? Is it what it says, you're being licensed to be a dispatcher? Is that a state law or national law or?
Yes, so not every state requires dispatchers to be licensed. This is actually a way to professionalize the profession, to get them to meet certain standards set by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement.
Now, can anybody, let's say I'm intrigued by this podcast, and I'm like, you know what, I want to be a 911 dispatcher. Can I just come to our office and sign up for classes and be like, can I do that? How does that process work?
No, you actually have to be with a public safety agency, and they collect all the necessary paperwork, and they send us one form that verifies that they've done background checks and all the information that the state is going to need to be able to come to the courses. So you would have to be affiliated with a public safety entity.
All right. Now you ladies were both dispatchers. Like a lot of our staff, some of our staff here at TC911 have been dispatchers. Sofia, you came from Irving, and how many years were you at Irving?
I'd say about 5.
5 years. And Alena, you came from White Settlement, and you were in Benbrook and
also Fort
Worth. Okay.
Yeah, I have just a little over 20 years in the industry.
And you started when you were 10, right?
Totally. No, I started when I was 20. I turned 21 while I was in training. That ages me just a tad, but yes.
Okay, well, great. So was it hard transitioning from dispatch center to dispatch center? I mean, because you went from one major city to little cities.
I did. It was at first, going from a big city where, you were kind of tasked with either taking calls or being on the radio. You didn't have to do both, to going to an agency where you took the 911 call while talking on the radio, while having to watch your prisoners, and possibly have somebody come into the office and talk to you. It was hard because it was a lot more multitasking involved. And I quite enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed the chaotic nature of it. I tend to do better when things are a little crazy, but
sure.
It was fun. It was exciting, and it was always a challenge, which I love to be challenged. So I never was bored or thought that it was redundant. It was always a new thing every day. So I did enjoy that. And then it was from there just, looking for advancement. So I went to Benbrook because there were other opportunities. They were smaller, so I knew I could learn a lot more about the record side of it, the holding facility, learning about the prisoners and the paperwork involved in that. Going to White Settlement, I got the opportunity to be the dispatch supervisor. So it was just a whole new side of the industry that I had never seen before. So doing that, it was an easier transition because I had 16 years under my belt. But it was fun.
And then you jumped ship and came here to the district.
I did.
So you've been at the district how long now?
Since August. So
We're
not
climbing.
too long at all.
Hey, we're climbing. You know
We
what?
are.
You start here, and the next thing you know, 6 years goes by.
Yeah,
and then
it's
10.
been amazing. I've always had a huge interest in the training side of it. So when this came available, I knew it was meant to be, because this is where I've always saw myself, even post-retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah, it's a great place. We're glad to have you here. And Sofia, you came from Irving, and you were a dispatcher at Irving for how long?
About 5 years, but I was an intern prior to going to work full-time at Irving through the internship program at Jackie Singley Academy.
Oh, that's right. They have an internship program.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of the dispatch centers in our district don't have internship programs. I think only 2 of them do. Is it Grand Prairie and... I thought Grand Prairie has it, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure Grand Prairie, and then Irving still does theirs.
Yeah, now I know, folks at home, you're thinking, wait, Irving's in Dallas, what? So back when we started in getting the legislative going for Tarrant County 911 in 1985, 86, something like that. I don't know, I was 5. There was... They basically, Irving asked to be a part of it, and they went ahead and let them in, which, I mean, that's a smart move. I would have made that move. So that's good. But yeah, so that's great that they have an internship program. And were you intimidated by that when you came in? I can't imagine being so young and then walking in that room and being like, I don't know what to do.
It was like, I was in awe when I walked into the room, because I didn't know what to expect, because you don't hear much about 911 dispatchers. A lot of people really wanted to intern, for the jail and for the court. So when I walked in, it was like this amazing place with all these computers and all the monitors, and I was like, oh my goodness.
It looks like a wicked gaming center.
Yes.
Like you can play, what's the popular game, Fortnite or something like that.
Fortnite.
They don't do that. That's, okay, just to put that out there, there's no video game playing in 911 centers. It's just the best way. That's how I try to explain it to the kids when I'm out at community events. I'm like, it looks like a gaming center, but we don't play games.
Yeah, no.
So.
Even though I think they developed like a dispatch simulated game for gamers.
I think it's called the Call.
I don't know.
Or something, and it came out on the Switch. It was, I would probably say in 2018 or 19 it came out, and I think there's a couple other ones that have come out. I didn't purchase it. I kind of felt like, I'm good.
Not curious to see if,
Well, you have a Switch, right?
Yeah.
I think it's only like $4 on the app.
I'm going to have to look at the app store.
If you just buy it. If you buy it, I kind of want you to bring it to work, and then we could reminisce our days of being dispatchers via the Switch. So that's interesting.
I mean, I'm always good for a good competition. Let's do it.
I know. That's it. It's just retraining our brain for, I don't
set it up in the training room, put it on the projector.
You know what?
Yeah.
What if you did that for classes?
Ooh.
For the licensing class.
Oh, dear.
Or something. Maybe not for that class, because that's so much. Because that class is intense. See,
yes.
I grandfathered out of that. Because when I came to Texas, I started dispatching in 2013. I don't think it was till 2014 that test was required. Because
I know when I started, it was required, so it wasn't too long before I started.
And Alena, you didn't have to take it, did you?
I did not. Now, they had a condensed version of it for those that wanted to, just for refresher purposes, to go mainly over the laws, the liability, things like that. So I did attend that class, but I think at that time it was maybe a 2-day, 3-day class.
How long is the licensing class now?
It's 11 days in class, so you get 88 hours of training, and then they have to take a test on a set. So technically they have to commit 12 days to us.
That's okay. It's a great 12 days because you guys make it fun. I mean, I sit here in my office and I hear a lot of laughter, and you guys play games with them and make a lot of fun interacting learning. And that's exciting because a lot of people, that helps them learn, when you're interactive. And what's the game you guys play? Cahoots or something?
Cahoots. We're working on like a Jeopardy style game to play on Friday. And
that's fun.
You're right. It helps people learn. It helps people laugh. And, nobody wants to sit and listen to someone talk and lecture for 8 hours
And you guys are really good about helping them out. It's not like it's not sink or swim. Like you all like help them. I mean, so I don't want y'all out there to think like, oh gosh, I take this. How many questions is the test? Like 100 or something.
It's 80.
It's 80.
It's 80, close enough. That's a lot. But you guys help them a lot and coach them up until the actual day that they take it.
Yeah, and we do quizzes all throughout the time. Like there are some days that they take 2. There's one day in the class that they take 5. And it's just to kind of get them mentally prepared for that test. If they can be successful with the quizzes, they have a really good chance. And we give them study guides, the games. We have them work in groups if they want to help, because everybody learns differently. So we try to hit all of those different learning styles as much as we can.
What on average do your pass or fail rate?
I think last time we looked, we were for sure in the 90s.
That's good. 90% of them.
Yeah,
That's
the 90%. And, they have multiple chances, but we want them to pass on their first try. And it's always amazing to hear. I know we've had feedback lately where they're like, I felt over-prepared walking into the test room. Like, once they're done with their test, they're like, wow, I felt overly prepared. And I'm like, that's our goal. That's how we do the quizzes and all the games. And, it may seem like a lot, but it's worth it when you just walk out of that room, and then getting to sit there and tell them, congratulations, you've passed your exam, it just makes it all worth it.
That's a relief. They probably are like, oh my gosh, thank you. And then go home and take a nap.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I feel for them. I think there's 1 day or 2 days where it's not policy, but what's some of the hardest days in that class? It's like the first couple days or something.
The first 2 days, I would say, would be the hardest, just because they may not be as interesting, because you go over like the different requirements by the commission and the different chapters, and then you have technology. Radio technology on the second day.
It's stuff that it's good to know. It's important. I mean, even though you might not be on the technology side of your department, or you may have a whole team that's designated to take care of that, it's important to know like where we've come from in technology and how, it does benefit us in so many ways to be a dispatcher and being able to do our job. And they grow. I feel like they get a new appreciation for what they have available to them. So I think it does help in that aspect.
Because there's so many diverse dispatchers that come in, meaning the diversity within theirs from the centers. Like some, like you just talked about, Fort Worth does certain things, and, they don't, you're either sitting on the phones or you're sitting on the radio. You don't do both. Mm-hmm. And some agencies you do both, but then some of the agencies that folks come from here, it's like UT Arlington or the hospital district or something like that.
TCU, UTA.
Yeah, where there's no... So here's the difference with that is there are public safety answering points, PSAPs, which we talked about the last podcast, and those are where... When we say an agency in our district, those are agencies that we supply 911 technology to. There are agencies in Tarrant County that are not 911 centers. They do not receive 911 calls, but they'll do dispatch for their agency, like TCU has a police department. Tarrant Regional Water District has a police department. So UT Arlington.
UT Arlington has a police department, and then even like the hospitals.
The hospitals.
The railroad.
Mm-hmm.
The railroad was at BSNF or something.
BNSF.
I always get there. You think you'd know it by watching their trains go by down here on Sylvania all the time. Sitting there and, watching those trains go on. But, so with that being said, they don't actually have 911 calls. So when you call 911, you'll never get Tarrant Regional Water District or, the hospital district and stuff. You will get a call center like Fort Worth or the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office or something. So I just wanted to
I think it's when they come to classes too, they are intrigued as to what other people do.
Yeah.
So and I think it does grow a respect. I mean, I know my husband worked for an ISD police department, and he had worked at a police department before, so he knew, but it was amazing how a lot of people there didn't know really what the agencies who would transfer them calls, what they had to encounter. So when they come to classes like this, they share their stories and, kind of their experiences, and they again, there's an appreciation that's now grown between the different styles of agencies and, like I said, the diversity that's there. So I think it helps.
That's really exciting. And it's great, too, because then they have networking. You know, you make friends in these classes, you make connections, you know, and especially now social media, you know, I'm sure a lot of them become social media buddies and everything, and they can help each other out. And or if, you know, they start at one agency and, you know, like you said, they're intrigued by, you know, let's say if I worked at, you know, Tarrant Regional Water District, and I'm like, oh, you know, I kind of really want to take those 911 calls. I really want to do that. You know, that might open another realm of opportunity for them to grow professionally and do another task that's on there. But the bottom line is they all do, you know, something that's important.
Absolutely.
You know, they all do something that's important, because the basics of it is once the call or once the situation's in their center, they're dispatching and, you know, typing things up and everything like that, even if it's a transfer or whatnot. So, right, that's about...
Absolutely. I mean, whether they're a small agency, large agency, a non, you know, a primary PSAP or secondary, they all have important tasks, whether it's to be responsible for the officers that they watch over, to report, you know, any warrant information. They all have different jobs that they do, and I mean, there's no way to say one's more important than the
That's
other.
Right. And especially, I mean, all of them do all the same paperwork. Because don't you guys go over, like, how to put in... Do you guys do that into the training department? Like, how to put in warrants or do like stolen items or anything? Or am I...
That's the TCIC.
Ah, yes. Would you like to tell everyone what that means? And I'm just letting y'all know they're both looking at each other like, I don't want to do it.
No, I think it's because we just had this conversation this morning. Like I said that TCIC, which is the Texas side of our communications
the
center.
Crime Information Center.
So that's the Texas Criminal Information Center.
Texas Crime Information
Yeah, that.
Yeah. So there's Texas.
And you get put on the spot. You don't know what to say.
I know. That's okay.
And then we have NCIC, which is your national. And
can you give me first before to give everybody a good mind frame of what we're talking about here? So let's say you have a warrant, and you could have a Texas warrant, which would be the TCIC
Crime Information Center. Yes.
And let's say you have a really bad warrant. That means you're wanted nationally, and they can get you.
Typically, it's your federal warrants or violent offender type things that go. And if we were to enter it, would go into both TCIC and NCIC. But if it's a low misdemeanor charge, typically you would enter those into just TCIC, because the whole extradition, which means the agency that enters it is willing to go and get that bad guy from, say, Arizona or Colorado, wherever they got picked up at. And a lot of police departments don't want to travel that far for lower level warrants.
Gotcha.
So again, it's those violent offenders, your felony, like especially your state jail felonies, or, you know, first degree felony, second. There's so many degrees.
Wow.
But in what we teach here is in the TCIC classes are the rules that, because of course there's rules, like just like everywhere else, but they're also kind of the method and the proper way to do it, because you want it to be kind of standardized across the board. So all agencies should be entering things, so that if I was to see something pop up on my screen that was entered by, let's say, Arlington, I would be able to identify everything that's on there, because I do it pretty much the same way. Yeah. So we teach that kind of standardized manner of entering it, and you have to have the certificate in that, because it's required, I think, within a year. I think it's within a year, 90 to something like that.
There's like now I know that there's half access and full access to this. This is that class, right?
Yes, because when you are in dispatch, you get the full access. Most of them do. So they have access to enter, run people, vehicles, articles, guns, things like that that get entered as stolen. You also have the ability to run a person's criminal history. You have the chance to see, you know, everything they've been arrested for, the dates and locations they were arrested. Then you can get what they call a rap sheet, which is those arrests broken down. You can see the convictions, if they were convicted or if they were not convicted, kind of what the final plea was, or if they did time, how much time, if they're on probation. You get all of that. So you have to take a longer class. The full access class is 3 days.
A lot of it's just to learn how to read that stuff.
It really is. And you know, and honestly, again, that's why they try to make it standardized, so that when you're looking at it, you know what you're seeing.
Yeah.
But the full access is that one, they can do it all. And it's a 3-day class. You have less than full. So that's a 2-day class. It's just a little bit less because they don't have access to as much. And then you have the mobile access, which is what most officers have. And that's where they can simply just run a person and a vehicle. And they do need to also know the rules in that and what they're looking at when they see those returns. Because we all know they have their little computers in their car and they need to be able to immediately identify if they have a bad guy and waiting for them to give them a ticket. So
right. That makes sense. Yeah, that's interesting. So basically you have mobile access, which is going to be the officers in the cars, and then you have half access, which is probably going to be like your detention officers, people that aren't really entering, right?
That courts,
like anything where you're not doing the full thing. You're not entering stuff. And then, of course, dispatch, the grand poobah, gets everything.
Yes.
Because I always call them the wizard behind the curtain because they're back there just entering every single thing. Oh gosh, it's just a lot, and you got to make sure. And I remember entering, and I just remember, like, if you missed like one thing, you get all the way down, or you get all the way done, and it'd be like, you have an error, it won't take through, and you hit enter, you're like, you have to go back and double check it. And
the errors are fun.
Yeah,
they're great.
I like it how you
learning experiences.
Your voice on that. The errors are fun.
We also enter, when you lose a laptop and you may have a serial number. Someone breaks into your car and steals a lot of your items. If you have those serial numbers, we're able to enter them to hopefully locate them.
Yeah, get your serial numbers. I have it, so I have a really nice bike, and I always wondered, and because I worked in public safety, I'm like, oh man, if someone steals my bike and you don't have a serial number, I mean, you can even etch something on it. You can make your own serial number, because then you can
like owner applied number.
Yeah, thank you. My memory is like, whew, it's all coming back to me now. Not really, but some of it is. But I have a plaque underneath my bike frame, and it has the serial number on there. And I always knew, I was like, oh, if I ever get stolen. But then I'm like, well, wait, I don't know if but you got to know the number or write it down somewhere or something.
Take a picture of it. It's even helpful if you have both. If there is a serial number, you can also still apply your own number to it.
Oh, that's true.
And it can be number alphanumeric as long as you know what it is, so that when they come out and take that report, if you have it, then they turn around and enter it. And then if anybody comes across it, runs that information, then we can, potentially get your item back to you. The big one, especially it seems, is, firearms.
Yes.
Especially in Texas, it's, we see them quite often, and a lot of times people don't know their serial numbers, and we can't do a whole lot. So keep your paperwork, know where that paperwork is, and don't expect that it's also going to be an immediate thing. A lot of people think that, I'm going to, as soon as I talk to that officer, it's getting entered. Well, there's an approval process. Again, there's rules. It has to then get forwarded to the dispatchers, who then have to enter. So it is a little bit of a process, but we love that lovely TCIC thing that will tell us if we enter it, if anybody ran it in that time frame of it getting reported and whatnot, we get these lovely little delayed hits that say, hey, you may want to contact this agency because they ran that.
Yeah, that's, and what I like about talking about all this is there's a bottom line to everything, which ends of the dispatchers entering all this.
Yes.
The dispatchers do a lot, and we've talked about this before. We brought it up in our last podcast, and how much they do, and people underestimate that, I think. I mean, it's not only just a call, it's not an emergency, but it's all this stuff you guys are talking about. That's why they have to get licensed at our facility. Now, on top of that, so we have the full licensing class, the TCIC, NCIC, and you guys offer so many, right? Because they have different credentials that they have to keep up with.
Yes, there's
or hours.
Continuing education, so they need 20 hours every 2 years for the unit or the cycle, and we provide that continuing education, whether we have people come in to teach, or we have several contract instructors that actually do a lot of teaching. We love our contract instructors. They work from agencies all over the place, different size agencies. They do things from, providing medical instructions over the phone to radio dispatching. They come in and they dedicate their time to helping us develop curriculum and partner with us and actually go out and not only teach for us, but we like to also prepare them to go out and teach at their own agencies. Because a lot of agencies, they can't spare the people to send them to training, and we understand that, or some agencies may be too far away. We would like to be a resource for all agencies. Even I know there's an agency down south who really needed help with curriculum. We sent them several lesson plans and PowerPoints for them to be able to teach that to their dispatchers, for those that may not have the resources to send them out.
And one of the best things about us is that we are absolutely free, right? No charge for classes, the cities don't have to pay for anything,
Yeah,
correct?
the majority do not have to pay for anything. I believe the only class we charge for is for out-of-district CPR, and that's just to cover the cost for the book. So we do not make a profit out of any of that.
And that's newer, the CPR.
Yes.
Yeah, because I just sat in that one.
Yeah, that's a newer requirement for licensing, and then for dispatchers that have already been licensed, it'll be a requirement for 2023 to 2025.
Okay, great. And that was a good class, too. That was a really good instructor. Because since I'm out in the community all the time, I thought it was a good idea for me to, be CPR certified just in case.
He's one of our contracted. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's how most of them are, because they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't have a passion to teach and they didn't love what they do, because that's what you see when you come to their classes, is you can see the love that they have for this industry, this job. And we all, and I said that's what brought me here in the first place, was I was always intrigued with the teaching, because I don't think you can ever stop learning, especially in this industry. Things change constantly, whether it's the technology or the type of crimes that are occurring, and learning how to properly respond. Like, we have an active shooter class that we provide. And it, with unfortunately the things that are happening in society, that is now one that's highly sought out. And
what are some other ones that's good that you brought that up, that, you adapt to the changing times.
Yes.
And so you have active shooter, and I know, Sofia, you're really into the mental health side. Do you want to?
We have mental health classes for our dispatchers. We actually bring in an instructor to teach critical incident stress management. In case there's a major incident, they're able to provide aid for each other. We have a peer support group here at the district to be another resource for our dispatchers out there. We have burnout and compassion fatigue, because this job can take a toll on your mental health, workplace wellness. So we focus heavily on taking care of our dispatchers, because they pour out so much of themselves to take care of the public, that it's important for them to remember that they also need to take care of themselves.
That is so true, because it's these dispatchers, especially now, a lot of people working overtime, and a lot of agencies are hiring and everything, because shortages in all industry since the pandemic and everything. But they're troopers. I talk to a lot of them, and they're like, well, I gotta do what I gotta do, and keep going. I'm like, that's amazing.
It definitely takes a special person to do it, but that's why it's important that we stay on top of that training, because like you said, with the people leaving and turnovers in different agencies, I know y'all created a foundations of retention, so it's like we're constantly having to respond to what's happening in those agencies. With the mental wellness, that's one that I am glad, because, being around for as long as I have, they didn't really focus on our mental wellness. There was tons of stuff out there, for the officers and firefighters and medics, but dispatchers back in the day, they were very much kind of on the backside, because they forget we weren't seeing what was happening. And so they didn't think that, when I say they, the different agencies and training providers, it was just, it was always there, but it was like, oh, well, you don't see it, so there can't be as much trauma involved. And now I am so happy that there is a lot of focus on, y'all are hearing it, y'all can have PTSD, you can be traumatized by these events. So all of this mental wellness that's being provided now is a huge step in the right direction. And I think that what they have, she named off, 4 or 5 different courses that are available now, and that's amazing. And I think that everybody should attend at least one, if not all. Come to all. Yeah. But I think it's important, because we have to stay with the times, like, with active shooter and all of that. But we have to take care of ourselves, because if we don't take care of ourselves, then we're not going to be the best that we can. Yeah. So I love the wellness side of it.
And those are, thanks. And those are just some of the courses. We're constantly working on curriculum development. Like, Alena and I have a ginormous vision for our training department, and we're hoping to bring in the best training for our dispatchers.
Well, and you guys write your own courses.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
The majority we've written ourselves, either, Alena or myself, or our contract instructors, because they have, like I said, a lot of experience, and their fields, and they have their different strengths. So we play into those strengths. You know, we may have some supervisors that, you know, are contract instructors. They can help write supervisor classes. CTOs, communications training officers, they can come in and help us write classes. We have refresher courses because just, you know, you take one class and then 5 years go by, you may need a refresher for certain topics. So we are very excited and very grateful that we, you know, get to come up with so many courses, and it literally will look at the whiteboard and be like, all right, what do we need? What's going on right now, and how can we serve our dispatchers?
So when you develop courses, you know, is there obviously guidelines that you have to follow through the state of Texas? Because you can't just put anything out there. Does it have to be approved for? Because the dispatchers have to get credit. So credit is done through the state of Texas, correct?
Yes.
And so for that course to be out there, do you have to send that through the state of Texas to get that approved? How does that process work when you're like, okay, I have this course that I have for active shooter, I wrote it, I got the curriculum done, now what do I do with it?
So as long as we have all the documentation when we come and get audited, you know, it does need to be on a lesson plan. We do have to have documentation of videos and calls that are shown to our students in case anyone needs to come back and be like, hey, what exactly did you teach? We do have evaluation tools to make sure that they're learning the objectives that we, you know, want them to learn. So as long as we have all that documentation in line, you know, the state typically has numbers that you go on their website and you can pull those numbers. And those numbers are used to actually report the credit hours for then that to be reflected on their transcript. So typically it just depends. If you're wanting your own brand new number, then yes, you would submit documentation to the state. If there's a number already out there that you can use, then you would be able to use that. But you need to keep documentation of everything you teach for when your audits come.
And you're mentioning audit, and I know everyone's thinking audit, like tax audit. You guys get audited? Yes. The Tarrant County 911 District gets audited. So the training department will do an audit, but that's through, is that TCOL?
Yes.
That does it? Yeah, Texas Commission
on Law Enforcement.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So they do their audit, and then of course we get audited like every other business or nonprofit organization and stuff. So that does happen too, which I have no doubt that these ladies are have any issues with that whatsoever. What are some of your goals that you would really like to see done or have completed in 2023, this coming year? So what's coming up? What's something that's kind of on your checklist of like, this is my goal for 2023, this is the class I want to do, or this is what I want to present, or whatever it may be? Because you do a lot of extracurricular activities like going to conferences and other organizations that you're a part of to help build your knowledge and education and your craft also.
Yeah, so I know for sure one of our goals is to build more partnerships, because it's about bringing as much training as possible to our telecommunicators in Texas, our dispatchers. Partner with North Central Texas 911 to bring classes, but also another project that we have going on is to get more internship programs for our agencies to kind of help with that turnover rate, to get these high school students interested in 911 and get them prepared for whenever they graduate, if they want to go into the field. So I know those are a couple. I'm sure Alena has.
Yeah, we are also having, we're kind of revamping some of the material that we do have, because it's ever changing. So we're kind of going in and looking at, one of them is our basic tactical dispatch. We are working on trying to get that revamped. It's a great.
What's that?
Well, whenever you have those high risk incidents, the agencies are wanting their dispatchers more involved in that.
What's a high risk incident?
Yeah, you're talking your active shooters, your barricaded subjects. Those are fun. Your anything that obviously not only is the public at risk, the officers are at risk, and they have to take a tactical or like a SWAT type approach. So they want somebody that's on the communications or dispatch side to be highly involved, because they don't want to have to, the officers, the SWAT, they are so busy, they don't want to have to keep track of some of the, where are all these resources at, contact this person, they leave that to dispatch. So we prepare them on how to handle those high risks, and how, if you're being deployed to a command post, how would you do that? Or if you are having to do this from in office, how would you do this? How can you best prepare? And it does take a special person to be a dispatcher. If you like that multitasking and kind of that chaotic nature, then a basic tactical dispatch is straight for you.
Oh, well, that's interesting that you say that, Alena, because when I was at North Richland Hills dispatcher, I was a SWAT dispatcher.
I can see that.
And I came here for the class, and I don't even know what year this was, 2014, 20. I think we were still at the old police department, the one at the access road of 820. Mm-hmm. And I got called out a couple times because I didn't live that far from the police department, so it was real easy for me to be there. And I remember one call, I was in the trailer or something like that, their command post.
The command post.
Yeah, I just said that, and probably everyone who's listening to this who knows what I'm talking about probably just rolled their eyes. She just called it a trailer.
It's a mobile unit.
Mobile unit.
It's a lot nicer than it sounds.
Oh my gosh. Please don't be too hard on me. So I've been out of it for quite some time. But the mobile command unit, I was in there, and it wasn't as scary. I mean, you get nervous because you want to do the best job possible. That's where my mind was. I was like, just try to hear everything, not only in the radio, but what's going on around you.
Right.
And it was intense, but it wasn't that bad. I've done it in the dispatch center. We actually had a barricaded subject, and I think I was it was quite some time. I remember my shift ended up being like 12 hours or something, but not all from that call, but on top of it came in after my shift was over.
Right.
And then I remember going out to one location, and I think I just had to stand by their SWAT armored vehicle or something like that. A kind of vague memory. It was really late at night or early morning, however you want to put it.
I think what's important though is unfortunately the public and even dispatchers, we kind of get into that movie mindset. We see what happens in the movies and we assume that that's what's happening. And so that's why we provide the training, is because imagine being thrown into that incident that you were in without any training.
Yeah, because you guys give guidelines on making sure what you even start off with your bag. Like the bag
The go bag.
Thank you.
Bag.
I was going to say the SWAT bag, but I'm like, no, because that sounds a little bit too, there'd be intense stuff in there. But no, it's with some of the stuff in the go bag is a flashlight, pen, paper.
Yeah, snacks, because you never know when you're going to get to eat again.
You don't want to be hangry out there.
Yeah,
no one wants a hangry dispatcher
water.
out there.
And I think for communications, it is a little different because you just want to be prepared that you may be there for hours on end, even days. Now, hopefully they would send you relief of the other one that's going to come and help you.
When you say days, I literally just cringed.
Well, you just have to imagine that, because even though we say, yes, we may have somebody come and relieve us, when you are in this profession, you are invested. And so, yes, you may physically leave and go take a nap or get some food. You are mentally still there.
That's a really good point. That's good. That's a good point.
So we do kind of focus on that too, how to kind of prepare yourself not only physically with your go bag, but also mentally, what you need to understand is maybe going to take place when you get there, what could potentially even happen after the debriefs or diffusings that can take place after the incident is over, because it doesn't just end. There is so much that you can learn from those incidents. And whether you did great, good, let's focus on what we did good, what worked, what didn't work. And so knowing how those can benefit you as not only an individual, but also with your agency. So that is one of our projects. We have another, we're trying to get it's a disaster series presentation where whether it's an actual natural disaster or, we have our own disasters that happen in the comm centers, like equipment failure or, things like that. How do you respond to those properly?
We like to call them service interruptions.
Yes. Well, equipment failures, what people don't realize is like she said, a gaming center, you walk in and yes, you see monitors, but it's not just if your monitor goes out. We have to prepare these individuals and agencies on how to handle radio disruption, or if their computer system does fail, how do we do that?
Which, that being said, just to let you folks at home know that if that happens, if it's just a CAD issue, they'll just write everything down, which Nobody likes that, but they have to do.
And we have to use paper maps.
I mean, paper maps. I mean, we're rolling it back to the early days, but yeah, for the CAD,
dinosaur.
the CAD goes down. It's cards, and once it goes, I mean, every dispatcher who might be listening to this right now is like, oh yeah, I feel what she's saying, because you have to write down everything, and then you have to track everything by hand. But if it's a phone issue or other, like all the systems just go down, electrical issue or something like that, here at the district, someone would notify us, and we'd flip a switch pretty much so that the calls would go to another center. So I just want to make that sure that it's never where, oh, well, I live at North Richland Hills, or I live in Euless, and this went down, and so what happens? Well, it goes to the next, they'll go to the next city. We'll make sure it goes to the next city.
Right. So what we try to do is just prepare them in this little series that we're coming up with, or trying to come up with and incorporate, is making sure that they are providing that training to their new dispatchers, because we don't want somebody who's brand new that maybe is like first week of being cut loose out of training and something go down that they don't know how to properly respond.
Which that happens.
Of course it did.
You will always get, like, when I first started in 2008, my first call was, I don't even want to say it, was really, really sad. It involved a child who didn't make it. But that was the first call I took, like, one of the first calls I took after getting out of training. And I was like, are you serious? Like, you could cover so much in training, but it's always going to happen that it's going to be something like that. Do you agree? Because you both were dispatchers, so I'm sure.
I need y'all to knock on wood or something after this.
Yeah, knock on. Don't listen. Like, listen to us, but then don't take it with a grain of salt.
Right. And it never fails that it always happens either A, when you're first out of training, or on the weekend when there's nobody. Like in these smaller agencies, you may be the only one there, or only one other person.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Or it never happens at ideal times, and that's why when we have these licensing classes, it's one of the reasons why it is so long. And we do cover so much information, because unfortunately it does happen, and if you get out of training and you get that call, we want to make sure you know what you're doing, or at least are mentally prepared for it. So but we have lots of projects, and I think that it's early in 2023, so I'm sure we'll probably be a month in, and we'll have more ideas, because we're constantly brainstorming, and we feed off of each other. So it's like, hey, what do you think of this? Oh yeah, I like that. What do you think of this? Oh yeah, let's do that.
So like one project idea will end up turning into like 5, like no doubt. Like you already know it.
There's no problem with that. Your brainstorming is it's not a brainstorming, it's a brain hurricane. You like that?
Yes,
I literally just came up with that right now.
A brain hurricane.
You guys can have brain hurricanes.
Yes, we do. And I mean, I know I'm still new, but it is so easy to work with Sofia, and like, she has done amazing in training me to prepare me for the position I'm taking on. And
aw, shucks.
Sofia's face is turning all red.
She has. And I mean, I feel there's a lot of creative freedom here where we get those, because we do come from different sides of it. So I've been on the training and the supervisor leadership side, and she's got her time in bigger agencies like Irving. I can't even imagine. I maybe would compare it to like what Fort Worth was similar to, but that was my shortest stint. So she's got more of that experience, and then her wellness, and then her education, just her personal education background. Like, she checks my grammar. It's great, because I am not that great at grammar.
Listen, you check mine too. It happens. It happens.
Sophia has checked a lot of people's grammar, like myself. Now, I love my life because I have Grammarly. But, which is a tool I recommend anybody.
Sophia-ly? Can we come up with
Sophia-ly? Yeah, Sophia-ly. But sometimes when you're working on something, and this is any job, any department, you get so tunnel vision, you're in your element, and you're just typing, you're getting stuff done. And then I think you lose almost like a vision track or something of like, oh gosh, this apostrophe shouldn't be here. So sometimes, I think I even brought you into, I'm like, hey, will you read this image? And it's great to be able to lean on each other for that type of thing.
When we develop curriculum, we send it to each other, because she may think of activities that I never even would have thought of. Like, wow, that sounds like a great idea. Or she'll be like, hey, this might be a little confusing, and I'm like, I appreciate that too, because
a little sneak peek. I have one that was a communication Picasso or something.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now this art major already likes that already. I mean, I don't know if it'll be something that I want to sit in.
I mean, Maybe you'll just have to come and see.
Oh, is there actually Picasso involved in any aspect of this?
I mean, just imagine being given very limited instructions and having to draw what your instructions are being given.
Okay, so it's kind of like a cubist, when he did his cubist.
Yes, exactly. That was where my inspiration came. Yes.
That's interesting.
See, I don't speak art, so I'm just sitting here like, okay.
But that's the great thing about our building. Look how many different diverse backgrounds we all have, and that, it's, I don't know, you just feed off each other. You feed off everyone. You guys feed off each other, and then that incorporates, because we all sit in the same cove in the building. It's like a little, I don't know, what do you say, like a cutout, and then there's like 4 offices, and we all sit in the same area.
We're like an elbow.
An elbow. That's a really good. We're like an elbow.
We're an elbow.
That's where we're gonna take that one. We're an elbow, and so we'll usually like hear each other talking, or throw out an idea, or something like that, or check on each other. Usually it's me saying something in here, trying to work audio, or doing something, whatever. Yeah. But Sofia too, and Alena brought this up. Your education. So you have a master's, a bachelor's and a master's from UNT, is that right?
Yes.
And then you're currently
a PhD student at Tarleton.
So it's going to be Dr. Sofia.
Oh my gosh.
That's fun. I'm going to make you a shirt that just says Dr. Sofia.
Oh my god.
Because it's a fact. I mean, why not? Right? Yeah. You earned it.
Yeah. Listen,
definitely.
So what is that? What will that entail? Like, what do you, a PhD in what you said, I'm sorry?
In criminal justice.
Criminal justice, okay. And that, so what kind of stuff do they go over it since you're on this side of it? Do you get a lot of things that are like,
Oh, yeah, no, it's just, a lot of very research heavy, which is really helpful because there is a lack of research in 911. You can find research on police officers and correctional officers any day, but there's very little research on 911, very little research on mental health, retention, so that's kind of where I'm gearing it towards, like hopefully helping fill that gap. Right now I'm working on a proposal, and I'm probably going to end up doing it on retention because there's so much that goes into it. We talk about culture, we talk about teamwork, we talk about, leadership, supervisor stuff, so, just things like that.
That's amazing. And kudos to you for furthering your education.
Thank you.
That's just, I did the master's thing for a semester, and I was like, yeah, I'm good.
I mean, sometimes I wonder why I put myself through this.
But you're such a good student, though. Like, you love research.
I do.
That's like your thing.
And I love that I still get to be a student, so it helps me understand more what our students kind of go through when they come to class. So that's why I know, I'm not going to sit here and lecture for 8 hours. That's just not going to work, especially dispatchers that are used to having their busy minds very busy, so we come up with activities to help them stay engaged because nobody wants to sit and listen to someone for 8 hours.
No, I don't, and I'm sure no one else does either. Not that, unless it's like super engaging and there's snacks and maybe a nap time in there.
We do have snacks.
We have
snacks. Powdered donuts in there that we keep eyeballing.
I'm trying to get onto them about buying healthier snacks in the training room.
I think we have walnuts.
Now we just turned into an ASMR video.
We have water.
Yeah, we got water. That's good.
Free water.
Hey, that's nice. That's awesome. But yeah, it's nice. You guys do create a nice, warm, welcoming space for dispatchers and other public safety personnel to come. And I know that, Alena, since you've joined and everything, it's really been a great atmosphere having you here, and Sofia, and all that you've done in your time here in your 3 years.
I'll be 4 years in March.
4 years in March.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
I know. It's interesting. It's interesting, too, because the same conversation that I had with you, Sofia, when you started, because Sofia was, and Alena, you had mentioned it the other day, the transition of leaving the dispatch world into coming into office world, like the 8 to 5 holidays and weekends off and things like that, and how difficult that was. Or was it even like break time? Like, even if you wanted to take a break, because that's so... That's just kind of, that sometimes it's kind of unheard of sometimes in dispatch. I mean, you can take a break. I'm not saying that they don't get breaks, but
sometimes it just may be so busy.
Right. If you're swamped, if there's a major accident and you're having to work something, I mean, you got to quickly go up and use the restroom facilities or, grab something.
Being able to use the restroom whenever you need to is pretty great.
Yeah. And I remember when Sofia started, she was like, do you think I can take a break and go into the store? And I looked at her and I was like, I could have gone one of two ways. Because sometimes I have a tendency to give Sofia a hard time. I could have thought like, oh man, you got to sign out for that. You got to sign this. You got to ask that. And then I was like, no, you're fine. Like, you don't have to wear a cowbell, nothing like that. You're good. You're good to go. And Alena, you were experiencing your recent experience with that transition of that lifestyle.
I forget to take breaks because it's not that you're limited, but usually it's either you're taking breaks on a schedule in an agency because you have to wait for your relief dispatcher, or you are waiting for that incident to end. So you do have some restrictions in that aspect, but here I forget because I'm not doing any of those things now, and so remembering, hey, get up, hey, go to the bathroom. It's fine. Like, reminding myself that it's okay, just because I'm so used to having that structure of bathroom breaks or that structure of when I take my lunch. So just having that ability to do it is great. I love it.
It's the freedom of it. You can get up and you can go, you're like, hey, I'm going to run down the street to the Walmart. I'm going to go do this.
I did do that the other day, so I felt that was a success.
I love that the Walmart's right down the street from our
I can never
building.
find parking, but it's fine.
They can't?
No. But I think with that, and then, there are times that we have, due to, COVID or flu, we've had to be remote.
Yeah. That
is a whole different ballgame for me because I have never, ever in my days worked 911 from home. So trying to...
Yeah, well, our office, we are very, our administration is very good at keeping us healthy and keeping us safe. So since the pandemic, we have been having different off and on remote statuses for our staff here at TC911. And we are on, what would you say, kind of like a rotating hybrid thing. And some teams, we have broken ourselves up into teams and things like that. I miss everybody. I don't like it when we're not together, but I know that we're keeping each other healthy, and that's what I love about our office. We have such a great admin to be like, we want everybody healthy because it's like the flu was really bad this year.
Yeah, and we also want to make sure we stay healthy too because we're teaching in the classroom.
You're teaching, and
just the thought of getting students sick and then them taking it back to their agency is I can't bear that thought.
Exactly, and you guys are really good at that by like saying, hey, you guys, we're gonna postpone this or whatnot just to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, we're definitely very, very flexible.
Yeah, because I think this past year was bad. I think everybody in the office was sick at one time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. But it's just it's great that we have that. But yeah, it's I miss the camaraderie of being in the office with everyone, and you don't see a lot of people and at the same time and whatnot. But I like being here when you guys have classes. That's my favorite because I like overhearing what the fun and excitement that's going on in there, and everybody seems to be really engaged. If I stop in there to do gifts or something, you can just feel the energy is good, and then that's set off by you guys. So kudos to you for that as you continue your journey here, until retirement, which will be a long way for all of us, all three of us. I'm all three in that age group.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not one that I could see myself retiring ever. I like to stay busy, so maybe when I'm 70, I'll change my mind.
Yeah. So TC911 in 2040 something.
Yeah, sure.
20
I'll be here.
Something. I don't know how to do the math, but anyway, Alena will be here till she's 100.
Yes.
So it'll be Alena and what do they say? Alena and cockroaches.
Sure, probably. I'll teach them. It's fine.
Teach them. Hey, everybody, come on. No, that's great. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today. This has been really informative, and I love y'all's energy, and it's a great team, and I see nothing but the training department just skyrocketing with all sorts of awesomeness on that.
To space.
You can get on our website. The training division does have a link if you wanted to read up on that, or maybe check out some of the classes that they do. I do post it on our website, and if you're interested in getting in the industry, at least you know that there's if you're worried about education and structure with that, we offer this here for free at the district for all the cities near and far.
Yeah, we've had people come in from all over the place.
There was a bunch of girls that came from Oklahoma, wasn't there?
At one point, we had, I think it was a leadership class that we were hosting, and they came in from out of state.
So, that makes sense. So, thank you, ladies, for what you do, and thank you for your service back, when you were wearing the headset, and now you're teaching those headset heroes and you're teaching them to teach others.
Yes.
It's a great recycled process. Who can complain about that? So thank you again. I hope you had a great time. I had a good time.
Thanks for having us.
It's fun.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure to give us a follow on Spotify, iHeart, Google Play, Facebook. I share it on Facebook, and you can also listen to it on our main page for Libsyn. I am Abbey Dudek. Until next time, have a fabulous week.